Hello everybody, this is Granny Pat's daughter Jan. I know you've heard about me a few times, or 2 or 3 or 100. And I watched my mother's video yesterday where she was showing where she grew up here in Corbin. But what she failed to do was show you the house that she grew up in that my grandfather built. And I was yelling at the video the whole time saying, why are you not showing me the house? So I am showing you the house, and now I'm going to walk up to the front porch as best I can. And then I'm going to situate this iPad, of which I am not good at. But, and there's my mom on the right. She's got a new perm. And there's my Aunt Wanda on the left. And they've been visiting for a few days, and I came here, I didn't see any blood on the walls. They're still talking to each other, so I think all went well. So, yes. It all went well. So if you excuse me, I am going to sit this right here.
Get over and act like you love me.
And now I'm going to join in somehow.
We're both fat.
Oh Lordy, somebody's gained weight.
I'll be with you.
It might have been me. Because I remember when I used to sit on this swing with my aunts, and I always had to try to squeeze in, and I was always in the middle.
Okay.
But I used to sit in the swing over here, and there was nothing I enjoyed more than anything than to sit here on the swing with my aunts. My grandmother usually sat in a glider over there on the other side, of which you can't see. There was another chair that sat over here, which there is one now, but it's not the same chair. And there was usually an aunt sitting there, maybe another aunt with my grandmother. And then whomever else was left that got here late had to sit down here on the porch stoop. And we had people lined up all over this porch, telling stories all day long, and there was nothing more fun to me as a kid than to sit here and listen to all my aunts and my uncles tell their stories, and we would laugh and laugh and laugh the whole time. I also remember my brother and I, and probably other cousins too, we would get on the swing, and all the aunts and grandmother and all that and uncles, they'd be in the house, and we'd get on this swing and we would start swinging so high. Do you see this? See this awning back behind me? I think we might have touched it a time or two.
Right.
And we would swing so high, and you could hear the chain just creaking the whole time. And the next thing you know, we'd hear a banging on the window telling us to stop swinging in that swing. And we would be like, okay. All right, we'll stop. And we would wait, and they would go away, and then we'd start up again, and we'd do it again. But this was my favorite place in the whole wide world when I came to visit my mamaw. And so anyway, and my Aunt Wanda, I used to love to visit with her when she was here, and I thought her and Eddie were the two funniest people in the whole wide world outside of Ben May and Raymond. And I used to love to listen to their stories, and we would laugh and laugh and laugh. Funny stories. Oh, and apparently when they were all kids at some point, they used to play marbles on this porch. And I can remember as a kid getting right back behind here, where there's a garden now, but right behind here, we would dig down in there, probably with spoons, which is why you never find old spoons anymore. When you find sets of silverware and stuff, there's no spoons. That's because everybody dug with and did gardening with spoons. And so I would get down in there and dig with spoons and find all those really old tiger eye marbles. Now, where they are now, I have no clue, but I sure wished I had them. And
Under this porch?
Oh, they're all under the porch now?
Probably.
Well, you know me, I'll get under there and go look for them. Oh, yes, I would too. You've never seen me. Don't tell me no.
Well, she's waiting to go to the basement to see what my mother left in that basement. So this is going to be a short video because she's anxious to get started digging some more.
I'll climb in attics too. I'll climb in attics. I don't care how hot it is. I'll get in an attic in a heartbeat.
Do you want that cow? want the cow.
Wanda showed me a cow in her kitchen cabinet. I already saw a chicken on top of the cabinet, and I said, I want that chicken. So she got it down for me last night. And then she opened the cabinet door, and she said, would you like to have this cow? And I said, well, let me see it first. Well, now I'm glad she reminded me, because I'd have gone off without her cow. And in one of my table settings, you'll probably see the cow and the chicken.
I got the cow for Daddy when he was in the cattle business in Woodbine.
Cattle business was 20 cows.
And they all had names. And people would have them butchered and would bring Daddy a steak or something. He wouldn't eat it because he felt like he was eating his friend.
Oh yeah. And I remember the time he took me up to the farm to go see the cows. Got chased by a turkey. I got chased by a turkey. He told me not to get near the turkey, and I didn't listen, as usual. And I got chased by the turkey. And then he took us up, and he called the cows, and they all came, except there was one cow that was up on the hill. And he took me up there, and he says, come on up here, sis. He says, I want you. Everybody was sis. Son and sis. Nobody had names. I don't know if he ever knew my name, but I was sis. And so he says, come on up here, sis. I want to show you something. So I go up there, and here's this cow up there, and he goes, here, I want you to milk this cow. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, you want me to do what? And I'm probably about, I don't know, 10, 11, 12, something like that. And he's like, just grab a hold of the udder and start pulling on it. And I'm just like, I'm not touching that udder. It was disgusting. And I think I might have touched it, but I know I sure didn't milk it, because I was scared to death of that. I was scared to death to touch it. It was disgusting. I would have died back in the day if I had to live off of milk, had to go out there and milk cows.
We didn't drink that milk. We did not drink that milk.
No.
Oh gosh.
We drank our milk from Elsie's store.
Yeah, that's true.
Pasteurized.
That's true. Well, I'll tell you more about the cows. The cows were actually his pets. He had always dreamed of being a farmer again since the age of 13 was when he retired from farming and went into working for the L&N Railroad. And so he has a tenant on the farm down there taking care of the cows and a couple horses. Or mules. I think they were like Jim and Sam, something like that. I never did see them.
He could remember the cattle and the animal's name, but he couldn't remember ours.
Yeah, he called us a sis and son.
Sis and son.
So anyway, it'd be about 10 o'clock at night. Telephone would ring, and it would be the tenant on the farm. And he would say, Mr. Eastep, you need to come down to the farm. And this was about 20 miles away. A train hit one of your cows, and it laying across the tracks, and you've got to clear the track. Well, the cows would get through the fence, and ever so often a cow would get hit by a train. Daddy'd have to take it to the slaughterhouse. We never got to eat any beef from his farm. And when I said, Daddy, I'd just love to have a couple good steaks and some good hamburger, and Daddy would point his finger over his shoulder and he'd say, right down there at the A&P. And that was his answer to how much beef we were going to get from his cattle.
And I know that in yesterday's video, Mom mentioned something about the branch being down here, which is nothing but a little trickle. But back then, it was actually there was water in it. And when we would come here, my brother and I would go down, or cousins, and we would go down and we'd go into the branch and we would go under the bridge. And my favorite thing was catching crawdads and salamanders. Now, I know I don't look like somebody who would catch crawdads and salamanders, but I did back in the day. And I would go down there and we would always have a jar. Always had a jar with us, because you had to put them in something. And so we would lift up the rock, and then we would wait for that crawdad, and he would start scooting backwards, and we would put that jar back behind him, and he'd scoot right into the jar. And I remember one time I was here, and I caught a whole jar full of crawdads and put the lid on it, and I was taking those babies home with me. I mean, I don't know if they were going to be pets or what. And Mom, I'm going to let you take it from here.
Oh, my goodness. Well, her brother, Greg, he was going to keep them. They always wanted a pet. Greg at one time wanted to get a crow. He did end up with a skunk in the house, and it was de-skunked or whatever you do to them to get rid of the smell. But anyway, in this case, we've been home about 3 weeks, and I kept smelling something in his bedroom. Oh, it was the worst smell you ever smelled. Stinking feet with dirty tennis shoes could never match this smell. I hunted under the bed, in the closet, on the shelves, in the drawer. I could not find where it was coming from. I had to close the bedroom door so that the smell wouldn't go through the house. And then one day, I was in the bedroom and I reached up on the chest of drawers where there was a photograph in a good sized frame. I moved that frame, and behind it was the jar of dead crawdads.
I remember it too.
And that solved the problem of the smell. I thought we were going to have to move out of the house.
Well, you know, the reason we were such healthy kids is we played in the branch, we made mud pies, we played in the dirt, we played marbles, we played in the yard. We didn't have big fancy toys and stuff like iPods and iPads and cameras. We just had each other. And you know, we all grew up. We didn't kill one of us. We didn't kill a sister. We wanted to, but we couldn't.
Thought about it.
Thought about it.
Talked about it.
Yes, but the big poplar tree in the backyard, now that tree, when it was cut down, was about 4 feet in diameter. But that was the tree that we played in, and we played Tarzan and Jane. And my mother came to the back door, I don't know how many times, yelling, "You kids, get down out of that tree, you're going to fall and kill yourself." We'd climb down out of the tree. As soon as she went back in the house, we climbed back up to the tree, and we went as far as the limb would still hold us and not bend and break. So that was our childhood, more or less. Fortunately, there wasn't enough water in the branch to drown yourself, because somebody would have to hold your head under in order to drown in the branch. So Mama never had a problem with worrying about us falling in the branch and drowning. So in other words, we survived that.
Somebody asked in one of your comments, Mom, on your last video, and they asked, what is your very first memory of this house? So I'm going to ask you what your first memory is, and then I'm going to ask you what your first memory is. Go.
Now, I can't give you one of the house. I can give you one of my first memories. And I was just about 5. I was probably 4. My brother he was in diapers, still in diapers and crawling. And it was Easter Sunday. My dad was going to teach Sunday school lesson out at Corinth Baptist Church. That's a little church out in the country. It was one of those churches, they used curtains to divide off the classrooms, and then they'd pull all the curtains back, and the minister would preach the church sermon. So, it being Easter Sunday, my little brother, of course, back then they didn't have diaper pants and all that stuff. They had diapers, and Mama put him down on that oil-based floor, and he was crawling around a little bit, and he wet his diaper, and that stain got all over the back of his diaper. At my age, I was so embarrassed because he had that dark stain on his diaper. Well, when the church service was over, it was time for the kid to go out and have an Easter egg hunt. There was a field beside the church that was I remember it as being a beautiful field, and every little patch of grass had eggs hidden in it. All the children were given Easter baskets, and I was handed one. Now, I didn't know any of the children that were there, but Daddy was kind of watching me, and they were running from a lump of grass or a little tree limb or something, and they were filling their baskets with eggs, and I'm standing there holding my empty basket, and Daddy walks up to me, and he takes me by the arm, and he leads me around to where he could see the eggs and help me fill my Easter basket. That's my very first memory that I can recall, and I was probably between 4 and 5 years old. So that answers that lady's question.
Mine's a little bit different. We had a hedge bush all across the front. And all I can remember is I do something I wanted to do that Mama didn't want me to do. And she said,
She was the sister that got tied up with a piece of rope to the porch.
I'm still here. But anyway, Mama would send me out to get a switch. She always had a switch. When I got that switch, I just kept on going. But I knew what was best for me.
Yes, and she would say, and you better get a long one, because if you don't, I'll go out and get a longer one.
Well, I got one that was about a foot long. 'Cause I, you know.
Switch her legs a little bit. So, Mama, actually, she didn't have to have the long hedge trimmed. We kept it trimmed because we were always having to break another limb off of the hedge for.
And by the way, there was no child abuse laws back then. You just whipped your kids and that was it. And they minded.
And you've heard, what's the song about sleeping at the foot of the bed?
Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on bedpost every night?
Well, something like that. Well, we did that too. And, but I did one, my first book was Room at the Foot of the Bed. And I thought anybody and everybody knew what that meant. A friend of mine one day said, Pat, what kind of room was at the foot of the bed? She was an only child, and I said, it would be an only child that wouldn't understand. Room at the foot of the bed meant there were 3 kids at the head of the bed and room for 2 more at the foot of the bed when bedtime came.
And Pat and I were roommates for 17 years.
Yeah,
We could fight under the covers and nobody would know it.
Well, I was the
Couldn't make no
one
noise.
that, you might say I was the one that suffered.
Oh, poor little Pat. They used to ask her what her name was. Her name is Patricia Fay. And she said, my name is Peachy Pay Pat.
Well, I was little.
I hope you were little.
So those are just the, the simple things of life when we were growing up. And I ran across a photograph recently, a whole gang of us on the front porch. There were 2 or 3 sitting on the edge of the porch. There was a chair over here. I could see the heads or the feet of 2 or 3 at the other end of the porch. And there were 3 sitting on the swing. So out on the sidewalk were 2 or 3 lawn chairs. And I got in the picture too. All you could see were my feet.
That was a good picture of you, Pat.
So, no, we were actually a musical family. Wanda was the one that could play the piano.
And sing.
And sing. But we had one of those upright pianos that used to be a player piano. So it didn't matter what song you wanted to sing. Wanda could chord it on the piano. And each of us knew 1 or 2 lines. We never ever knew the whole song, but whichever one knew the line just kept on singing. And before we were finished, we were laughing so hard at our own foolishness that we couldn't sing anymore. But Wanda was the singer in the family. I will give her credit for that. She had a beautiful, beautiful voice. She sang at every funeral in town.
Yes. And I know how to bury people.
And
wedding.
Yeah. So
And in church choir.
church choir.
I remember seeing you in the choir.
Yes. And she did have a beautiful voice. We were going to see that she went to college and majored in music, and she decided a little different from that. She decided she'd rather get married. So she disappointed the whole family, and we haven't spoken to her since.
Oh, yes, they have. Anytime they want anything, they call Aunt Wanda.
Yeah.
Yes. And so this is my daughter Jan. She's my backup for whatever I want to do. And she brought me down to visit with Wanda for 2 or 3 days. And she's back to pick me up. So I'm counting on her in my old age, and I'm trying to be as good to her as I can, because I don't want to die early.
Well, it's going to take me a week to recuperate after you go home.
She's kidding, you know that,
Oh,
don't
I
you? Yeah, she's kidding.
She's not.
So,
No, she's not.
so
And then Mom and I are headed to Tampa on Sunday, so you can fully expect to see a video or 2, at least, while we're down there, because I already have one in mind and she doesn't know anything about it, and you wait till you see this one.
oh my gosh.
And they didn't invite me to go.
Well, we thought about it.
Oh, it's the thought
We
that
thought
counts.
about
I just
it.
now thought about it.
Yeah. And I
It's
bought,
slow.
I just now thought about it. We at the same time.
Well,
well,
honey, you're
Great
slow.
minds.
it's not too late. It's not too late, you know,
Oh, it ain't.
to back out.
Can I pack now?
You can pack now.
Back now
We're
or
leaving
back
Sunday.
out.
Can I take my new shoe?
You can take all 8 pair of them you just bought.
We went shopping yesterday, and I bought 2 new pairs of shoes, and she bought 4 new pairs of shoes.
5.
She's not even going on vacation. I'm the one going on vacation. So I'll show you when I wear my new shoes. I'll let you see what they look like. I'm sure you'll like them all. Yeah, they're. I don't know if this is going to be in the film or not, but
I don't know.
anyway.
All right, so at this point, I am going to call cut, and I'm going to hope and pray that this has been recording, since this is the first time that I've been doing this, because I sure don't want to have us to go through this again. And since the infamous clicker has been left in Lexington, which, by the way, I know some of you have said that you laugh at it, and she gets frustrated with it. And I told her, I said, that's the funniest part of your whole video, is I wait till the end to see if you can get the thing to turn off. And I've shown her how to do it. Doesn't do any good, doesn't matter, but still, it adds some really good comic relief to the videos. So I am going to be the clicker offer, so let's just hope and pray that this actually recorded.
You know how to click it off?
Yes.
Okay. This
Say bye.
Bye.